What was your funniest I get paid for this moment? My first job was at a struggling ice cream shop. In an effort to recoup some losses of having to pay rent all winter, my boss decided to keep the place open way late into the fall, even when the customers stopped coming. I was getting paid to sit on Reddit and eat ice cream. One of my first jobs was at a Dairy Queen, one of the ones with a grill and hot food. We'd be open in the winter, but I'd only be scheduled for maybe 5 hours a week, which was fine, because I was in high school and had no bills. As you can imagine, there were hardly any customers, especially in the evening, when I worked, because DQ is a place you go to in the summer. This was before cell phones, so we had to get creative about how to entertain ourselves, since, working was out of the question. One time we spent about 45 minutes of a shift chasing each other around throwing frost and ice that had formed in the walk-in freezer. The dining room turned into a real-life FPS but with snow. I was a nurse's aide in college and had a very wealthy patient complaining of chest pain. Really nice guy, but the kids were assholes. I went back and forth with the son, who flew in last second on the family plane, about why me doing an EKG was more important than having dad try on different dress shirts. He even took the leads off at one point, and I told him to leave. During my internship, I explained to my supervisor how gambling in Dota 2 works, and we end up spending half the day watching clips of competitive matches. Working at a pub in Bath with a large beer garden, directly next to the river. Next to the beer garden was a swan's nest, one big bull cob swan and his harem. About 5 females as far as I remember. Thing is, in the UK you must be very careful dealing with swans. You can't move their nest, you can't frighten them away, and you really can't hurt them. Problem is, we were more of a restaurant than a pub and people like to eat outside. Swans get chips bread chucked to them often enough, they stop being scared of humans and start seeing them as food delivery services. After a while they would become bold enough to snatch food off people's plates, even while they were eating. So, I ended up being asked to encourage the swans out of the guard. Bear in mind this was my first shift. Now I actually know something about swans. If challenged, you have to raise your arms and look big, and if you have a bigger wingspan than the swan you win, and the challenging swan will duck off. Problem is I'm 5'4" and this was a bigger swan. So I improvised. My moment came when I was stood in the beer garden on a beautiful summer day with an open pub umbrella yelling shoo and gently backing a swan through a fence. Edit for correct masculine nomenclature. Person, I have a problem. Me, Google's problem and read solution person. It worked. How did you know that? When I, assisted by 2 17-year-olds, tried to explain to an 80-year-old former CEO of a big publishing company what Snapchat is and how it works. It was hilarious, especially because he was genuinely interested. I drove 4 hours round trip to point to something on a wiring diagram and leave. Edit, I charged $1,600. The company I work for has a minimum 2 hours out policy. If I get called out after hours to fix something, I'm a cable guy. I get paid for 2 hours of work, even if it only takes 30 minutes. Once an elderly called in and said her phone wasn't working with a life alert machine. I got called out. Turns out her batteries in TV remote were dead, and she lied, just to get me to put new batteries in remote. 10 minutes to drive, 2 minutes of work. $75 of OT pay. I work in a game store and this one time an old lady, 70 plus, came in looking very lost, so I asked her if she needed help with anything. She said she had recently started playing Skyrim and didn't know how to get past a certain point. Ended up spending about an hour talking to her about her favorite games. Apparently she loves the mindless killing in GTA V. 1010 would recommend. I write erotica and romance for a living. My wife, brother, and Sol were talking about their problems in a workday and I started talking about how I had to look up bridal pronoun that day to figure out the mechanics of ducking in a wedding dress. Just another day at the office. I was building a popcorn rocket for Alton Brown, so I needed to check the flight pattern of popcorn as the rocket would pop the popcorn then fire it. I sat around in my shop packing peanuts with an air cannon. A clown bit me, Fan photographer at the circus. Seeing people on bad drug trips. Breaking up fights. Seeing a guy shit his pants on a first date. Venue security guard. Standing near a wall while 5 to 7 male strippers are go-go dancing and glitter confetti falls from the ceiling. Venue security guard on gay night. Singing songs with strangers for 12 hours while wearing ugly clothes. Extra in a music video. Hearing can I tell a bad joke in an elevator. Everyone else there laughing politely. Current job for company with regular celebrity traffic. Walking by a naked woman laying on the floor with snakes crawling over her. Job at photo studio. Edit, Reddit. I'm truly sorry, but I don't remember the joke. It was more specifically him saying something to be funny that was in poor taste, not anything along the lines of, a man walks into a bar. Apostrophe. I make training materials for my company. One of our tasks involves helping clients with their social media campaigns. We have a team that will do posts, update information, and aggregate content for these clients. Making image macros, memes, is part of that service. I was in a meeting with the manager over that team, and we were discussing how they use them, what they use, and their strategy for virality when it comes to memes. We discussed them for at least 15 minutes in a purely commercial educational way, and I understood everything they were saying as I took notes and discussed this product. I'm now a professional meme expert, and I work with professional meme makers. It was a 65th wedding anniversary. I was asked to stay after church one Sunday morning to play 10 minutes of organ music as a couple in their late 80s renewed their wedding vows. I offered to do it for free as they were so cute together. After the brief ceremony was over, the groom handed me a thank you envelope containing $500 in cash. I felt as though I should have paid them for the privilege of witnessing something so special. Close bracket. Playing music for a deaf wedding. Was tempted to not even plug in my keyboard and just mime play. I work at a tutoring center where we mostly focus on math. 1 week before a break, my senior in HS didn't have any math to do. Since she's a cosmetology student, I'll let her give me a manicure. Personally, my favorite tutoring session to date. Security guard work. Night shift 8 PM to 8 AM. Car thief was breaking into cars, so they hire me to look after the car park. Everyone but one person drove their car home, so I guarded an empty car park. Best 12 hours of paid movie watching and napping I ever got. Working as a production lighting tech. Kneeling down metering the amperage of a power distro at an outdoor Katy Perry concert in a huge grassy field. She runs off stage for a costume change, looks around, sees me, shrugs and pees on the 480V feel line. I watch 4-year-olds fall into the snow. I'm a consultant for a business services firm. I'm mid-level, so my time is billed out to clients at $200 hour. I was on secondment to a multi-billion-dollar market cap company who were in the middle of a business operations crisis, so it was all hands on deck, working evenings and weekends. I was brought in for my expertise in a specific area of operations that they needed extra help with. On my first day, lunch was being brought in and apparently they were rotating whose day it was to coordinate. Guess whose turn the team decided it was today? I was kind of annoyed, but hey, part of my mandate was to be a team player and integrate myself, so I'm like, whatever, I'll take the lunch order. My first stop was the senior vice president's office. I told her today was my day to take the lunch order, and what would she like? I knew exactly what her reaction would be. We are not paying you $200 hour to take the ducking lunch order. She grabs the notepad out of my hand and, clearly angry and embarrassed, apologizes to me and has one of the lower level department coordinators take over. I was close to getting paid $200 hour to take a lunch order. I'm an amateur actor, only a hobby, but once I got lucky and I landed a role for a TV pilot. I got the role because I looked exactly like the guy the role was based on. I was just dumb lucky. All my travel expenses and lodgings paid for 2 weeks, plus a salary to boot. At one point during filming we had some tech problems late at night and had to take a break. They didn't want us to go anywhere though, so we had to remain on set, which meant we were being paid to do nothing. After a while they informed us that there would be at least an hour's wait. Filming was taking place in a nice mansion, so several of us hopped into the hot tub. We were laughing and joking around, passing around jazz cigarettes and basically having a very good time when it suddenly hit me. I'm getting paid to do this. Sadly the project fizzled out and died. I did get to spend 2 weeks living the life of a minor celeb, and it was a great deal of fun while it lasted. Boss, client has just emailed me. Can you hop onto their website and add a full stop at the end of that sentence? That made the company £100. I once got a request to draw dinosaurs 14 mascots of some inter-firm contest in the tax department. I made sure that took all day. Not me, but my cousin works for the city and was forced to water flowers in the rain because they ran out of things for him to do. This was back in 2008. My uncle's Call of Duty World at War wasn't working, so I reinstalled it and it worked. He gave $50 to me and my friend, who did absolutely nothing. He was just sitting next to me. Then my uncle proceeded to call me a rich genius. Now, in 2016, I quit computer science after 2 semesters. Damn you uncle and your $50. False hopes. Didn't get paid, but I had to do community service when I was in college for an underage drinking charge. They sentenced me to drive around campus in a golf cart and empty out cigarette receptacles. About 20 minutes of that 4 hours was spent doing the assigned task. The rest of the time was just cruising around campus in a golf cart like Van Wilder. It was awesome. Gave a bunch of my friends rides to classes, gave rides to random strangers, neutral bombed a bunch of hills. Best community service ever. I had to go to a mental asylum, as they used to be called, to dig out and replace the wellhead. It was a very locked down place, so security had their eyes on me. I was doing what was probably a 2-man job on my own. Just luck of the draw that day, I was using them in a jackhammer, ripped up a sheet load of concrete, pulled sheet out of the ground, and watching them watching me. I'm a small person, probably don't look like I can do what I can do, was hilarious. And I do like causing destruction, so that was fun too. One time I had to order a puberty book because my boss said her 11-year-old daughter has started masturbating. This was 1 month into my job as an executive assistant, but I work at my boss's home, and she's a very open person. 2 years into it now, and I do a lot of personal errands appointments for her. I love my job. It's weird. Basically my whole job. I sit on a boat in foreign countries and get paid stupid money to say yep, that data looks good. I answer surveys sometimes for a tech company who wants to know what people think of their products. They can't pay money for legal reasons, so they give gift cards as compensation for time. It always works out to a nice amount per hour, and their gift card selection gears toward frill items I wouldn't normally buy for myself, which makes it even more fun. Edit. I don't want to say what company, because I signed non-disclosure contracts, but suffice it to say that when a company you know and trust has one of those messages that says, "We want your opinion," it doesn't hurt to say sure. Apostrophe. That time our workplace told us that we needed to empty our own trash cans from now on, because instead of employing a janitor about $10 hours to go around emptying trash cans, we are going to employ a bunch of programmer analysts, software engineers, and middle managers to empty out their own for $25-40 hours. Oh god, I'm a webcam girl. I've gotten paid to watch a guy duck his vacuum cleaner. Used to work on equipment that is fairly common in the dressing room in strip clubs. Very rarely could I get in during off hours, so almost always the dressing room was occupied. If I had been single it probably would have killed me. Web dev. Built a sex shop and had to resize hundreds of dildos etc. Pics in Photoshop. I have the lovely privilege of introducing 14-year-olds to Shakespeare. The only thing they know about Shakespeare is that it's hard, so instead of jumping in with going over the language or whatever, I spend a day every year dropping some of his best 6 jokes on them and having Shakespearean insult contests. Opens them up to the idea that maybe this won't be so bad, and I almost always leave for the day with an aching stomach from laughing so much. My 9th grade 14-year-olds Literature teacher had us tell our best inappropriate Helen Keller jokes before we read a play about her, since he knew we probably weren't mature enough to get through the whole lesson, maybe a week or two of classes, without someone making a joke under their breath. Thinking it was a trap, everyone was silent, and the teacher proceeded to begin the conversation with a few really good yet horrible jokes. We loved it, and we were able to concentrate on the lessons much more afterward. Working in a grocery store in high school, I was running the natural foods department, and it was my last week of that before I left for college. I got a pallet of frozen food that I worked to the shelf, but in the middle of it, I found 2 chunks of dry ice. Ordinarily the vendors remove it after they deliver it, but I guess this guy didn't see them. Anyways, I took the dry ice to the manager and asked him what to do with it, and he said, when we get that stuff we need to make dry ice bombs out back. So we did. I got paid for 4 glorious hours of playing with dry ice. That stuff is fun. Due to the size of my building and the amount of people that work there, whenever there is a quarterly fire drill I basically just stand outside for 2 hours or go to a local bar. It always happens during work hours and peak work hours at that. Working for a daycare for kids between 6 to 12 during summer holidays. Was wearing a bikini, sunbathing, playing games with kids and eating ice cream. Ducking loved it.